and welcome. We're here talking to the Kavin Smith, a 9-time May 24th victor. Welcome to the program, Kavin.
Yes, good afternoon, family.
And how are you doing these days? You still look fit. Are you still able to run 13 miles?
Yeah, I could drop a 13. Very
Well,
fit. As you bumped into some of my activities last night, all my communication pretty much takes place when I'm out there doing something.
Yeah, apologize for that disturbing.
Nah, man, that's what I do, I was out
For
riding
real.
first, and then I dropped in a little 5-mile run after. That's pretty
Hey,
much a very
that's good. And
consistency.
it shows, man, you look really good, man. I'm
Yeah, man,
here.
thanks.
I don't know if you know it, but I'm here in Manchester, UK.
Yes.
And y'all on our beautiful island of Bermuda. So again, we're delighted. CITV Bermuda, we're delighted to have you on this program as we lead up to the the May 24th, and to obviously showing this interview to the general public. But I tell you, Kavin, 9 times a champion. I mean, that says a lot about you as a person, as an athlete, because I'd be happy to win it once.
Sure.
You didn't win it once, twice, 3 times, 6 times, 7 times, or 8 times. You won it 9 times. And so what I part of what we want to do is to let the public know, just what it took, because a lot of people can see the result, but they don't know all the preparation, But before we get right into your first victory back in 1993, let's share with the public your upbringing, your like, where you attended primary school and high school, and did one of the PE teachers see any talent in you from way back then? Go back to your primary school days.
I went to Southampton Glebe, present day Downton, Itaka, and it's funny how, like most youth in Bermuda, I wanted to kick some ball. So basically, we guys, I grew up in Spring Benny, just on top of White Hill there, and my dad's property borders the golf course, Port Royal Golf Course. So that's where we used to kick ball every afternoon. And one afternoon, at about 8.5, 9 years old, we were kicking ball. We picked 2 trees, and used for the goalposts. And 2 gentlemen came by, Fonzo Caesar and a guy we knew as Butter. And for some unknown reason, I guess destiny interacted, because I left the game and just started following them. I mean,
and what were they doing? They're out for a jog or walking?
They were all going for a jog, and they stayed in so when they entered the golf courses where we play soccer, because they were neighbors too. But
yes,
and I still think about it, why did I leave the game and just follow these 2 gentlemen off running?
And they knew what your dad, because you knew them apparently.
Yeah, these neighbors,
Okay, yes,
just neighbors, all part of the neighborhood. So, Port Royal Golf Course was the stomping ground. So, you run, go down as far as White Hill, or down as far as Bell Bay. And for some reason, that still keeps me betwixt today. Like, man, it had to be a destiny to be fulfilled, because I left the game and followed them.
So you're 8 and 9. So you're 8 and 9 years old. You're in primary school. Yeah. So what happens after that day? What took place?
Well, just it is important that to identify that the question you asked was that we kind of expedited, got to the finish line. They challenged me, could I beat them back to the football game, and I washed them up. There was a bet involved for some chips, and from that moment they went straight to my dad. For total excitement. Stugger, this boy.
That's your dad's nickname.
That's my dad's nickname, and he, heard him out, told the PE teacher at the time, and the rest was history.
Interesting. So right there, almost like you said, divine intervention. Your dad's friends summon you to a low challenge on the golf course, and what? So then what? Did you continue with football, or now you're?
He told the PE teacher, he dropped me in some, the cross country scene. It was funny because I wasn't doing any running. Like, why wasn't I running at the time anyway? The school cross country, and then just beat up the school and took place from there. And history took its place, and just continued on going from step to step from that from that place on. I still try to play a little soccer, but I guess that was also like kind of developing because of my aggression. I mean, and the team situation didn't work out good for me. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
I didn't think about people kicking off of me because I was always on the ball, because of my fitness.
Right. Sure.
Eventually, had to make a choice early. It was pretty early I made a choice to leave soccer. And not to mention my dad was taking me up to National Stadium, whether I like it or not.
Wow. Because I remember he was part of what, the Pacers. He started
He's actually the founding member, back then, with Striders.
That's right, Bermuda Pacers.
It was actually Striders way before Pacers.
Striders, wow, awesome. Yeah,
way before
correct
Pacers.
me. Thank you for that correction.
Yeah, way before Pacers.
So here we are. So again, we're back into your primary school days. Now you're in high school. So you went to,
Initially, I went to Work Academy. And that was a challenge within itself, because when I went to Work Academy, we all knew that was kind of one of the more martial law schools back then. And they tried to have me play soccer. And by that time, I had already been established what I wanted to do as a runner. So it was amazing how they could try to get me back into soccer. And I actually stood firm.
This is now your early teens.
Yeah, this is, going into high school, 14, 13, 14.
Yes.
I actually had to fight for my right that I'm not participating in soccer. I'm a runner. It was amazing how I had to fight not to play soccer at this school. So I actually got in trouble initially. But obviously, once they saw me run and the glory I brought to the name of Work Academy and the competitions, they figured out, well, leave Kevin alone. He's a runner.
So did you finish your high school at Work Academy?
No, I actually left Work Academy and finished up at Work Secondary.
That's right. Now that's where I remember you coming on the scene.
Right.
So during high school, and I'm going back those days, I remember we used to have there was inter-school sports.
Yes, yes, it is.
So what events did you participate in back during your high school days?
Oh yeah, I was in the 400. I probably started from the 400 up.
Okay.
400 up, yeah, 400 up to I think they had the 3,000 in high school back then.
Interesting.
That's the longest. From 400 up.
My question: how did you place
in the 400? I tell you what, that's probably one of the most talks about races that took place at one of the international sports up at the old National Stadium. I call it running on the egg shape. Running on the egg shape. Running on the egg shape, big band, narrow band.
Yes.
And it was myself. I believe it was Albert Steed.
Yes.
And Albert Steed. And Albert Smith in the 400.
Yes.
Never forget, dropped a 51, took the victory. And Albert Smith at the time was deemed to be the man to take the 4. Yeah, I was right in there.
You came right in. So your talent was right there at what, about 8, 9, talking about 14, 15 now.
Yeah, you got to remember my first Carifta, I smashed the rackets.
Okay, hold it. We're going to come right there. This is excitement. You're getting me excited.
So 15.
Let's don't go too fast, Mr. Smith. The Kavin Smith. So again, we're at the inter-school sports. You're in the 400, but you said you participated in a few other events.
Yeah, 800, the 1500, and I believe possibly 3,000.
And this is at international school sports. How did you place in those other events?
Wow.
Oh, come. I see the gesture. I see the smile.
Yeah, I didn't particularly like people running in front of me. That was kind of attitude I adopted, to protect my position,
So now here you are having great success, and I guess so everyone now knew that this Kavin Smith is on the scene and his legitimate. So it was no secret in your high school days that you were multi-talented. Am I correct?
Not at all.
Who was your coach? Who coached you during that time?
Well, in the high school days, we all ventured up to National Stadium. I don't think too many people in that time period didn't come on the Clive Long.
So you was on the Clive Long?
Sure, early. Very early. Dad, like I said, I was still trying to play a little soccer, for the Eagles up there at White Hill.
Right.
But Dad would throw me back in the car, so we're going up National Stadium and run. And I didn't like it at the time.
Yeah, Dad
it was boring. I had to go,
Yeah.
And then there was catching the bus after school.
I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
And then there was catching the bus after school, getting off at Crow Lane, get your puffs from the bakery, your cream puffs, and then walk all the way up to Nationals.
Your afternoon snack.
You know what I mean? Then you had to, do your workout, then Dad will pick you up, take you back south. That became a regime, which obviously developed a lot of discipline, young kids catching the bus after school, walking all the way from Crow Lane, be up National, train. And at that time, I was training with, the seniors,
Oh, and that's because of your talent.
Yeah, I was right there with them, right in the mix, and that was great,
Yeah, awesome. And so under Clive Long's tutelage, or was it,
100%, yeah, it was Clive Long all the way through, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So now you mentioned about the Bermuda racket. Share that with us.
The racket is pertaining to
Carifta. You said you had
Carifta. Yeah, so my first, actually, the first Carifta I should have participated in was supposed to be in Bermuda, but that particular year, it just introduced for the under 17. I believe it was the 8 and the 15, one of the races, you know.
Yeah.
But they canceled it for lack of numbers.
Okay.
And I'll never forget. I bawled my eyes out.
Wow.
I bawled my eyes out.
Because that was your marquee event.
That was my first year. I think I was 14 at the time.
And 14. Wow.
Yeah, the following year was in Jamaica, and you know this will always be my highlight. You know, in Jamaica.
So tell us about that.
Oh, that was intense. You know, I'll never forget. You know the.
So what event we're talking about now? Under boys under 16?
17, 800 meter, 1500 meters.
Okay, take us through.
It was solid because you know I'll never forget. You know, I was so what everyone was calling overconfidence was just confident. You know, yes. I never forget telling my dad, you know, Dad, I'm getting Carifta to break some rackets. I'm not worrying about winning, Dad. And I never forget my dad. They talk to Clive, Mr. Long, talk to Kavin. There's overconfidence that you guys are there. You don't understand. You know, it was a done deal. You know, I mean, even when I look back on it, you had that. I mean, I realize now the outcome wasn't in my hands to the race, but I had planted in my mind.
You had purpose. Ooh. And
you know,
so I mean, your confidence. I mean, I'm always knowing you never to be short on confidence, but I never knew you quite back then.
Yeah, man.
You know,
I had this eye of the tiger, man. It was crazy. I think about it all the time, man. It was here I am standing on the start line in Jamaica. I was a little short in stature back then compared to
this is you're in the 800 meter on 800 meter now. Okay. You know? So tell us about that race.
Clive Long giving the instructions. You know the basic instructions: saddle in, pick your pace, blah blah blah. I'm like, Mr. Long, you don't understand. It ain't about that. It was super fun to think that, you know, I made a move, man. I mean, I never forget, you know, tears in my eyes, you know, all these guys looking down at and I'm looking up at them. And, you know, I think that stemmed from many years before that when I went to the East Coast Invitational in Pennsylvania.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that.
And, you know, I wasn't nowhere near as confident. You know, I never got my dad. I went out one race, might have been the 800, and I didn't win it. Because I was timid, scared, and my dad says, "Come on, Kevin, you can take these guys." He talked to me, and that night he talked to me for the next day, and the next day I came out, and something clicked.
Yes.
You know, and I took the race, I won it, and that just went to a new level. So once I hit Carifta now, that 800 meters, man, that gun went off. Pow. I mean, it was just, it was a whole other place. I mean, just blew the race wide open, shot at the racket, dropped to 156, you know, was ranked one of the fastest junior times in the world.
Awesome.
You know, came back the following day. Now everyone's looking at me 100% different. So my confidence is now got support from everybody else is worried. Pop, smashed the racket, dropped a 407, another world ranked time.
407 in the 1500 meters
1500 meters.
Right, okay.
That's like the highlight, awesome. You know, came back home, told my dad, "Daddy, what I tell you, Daddy? You know, what did I tell you, Dad? I didn't go down there to win the race. I went to establish some rackets."
Yeah,
it was, you know, that's always be my highlight, you know. And when I reflect on it, you know, it's something I was able to draw from all the later years because I mean, it sets such a foundation and confidence in your ability and above your ability because you can take yourself a couple of notches above what you probably could do.
Sure.
You know, when your mind gets involved with the deal, and that's something I always learned early, you know. People tell me today all the time, "Man, you make it look so easy," because I do a lot of bike riding now, you know.
Yes.
I actually participate in mountain biking now. And that's very aggressive and takes a lot of stress on your legs, right? And guys say you got a poker face. I said, "No, man, it's not a poker face." Like, what is the feeling got to do with my continence? I said, "You're not going to know if I'm tired or not."
Sure.
Sorry.
So back to your Carifta. So you represented Bermuda a couple of years in a row. I would imagine that.
Yeah, well, it's continuous because you go right into under 17, under 20.
Right. And how was you had immediate success. You smashed the 800 meter racket.
Yes.
And so did you continue to have the similar success at the under 20 level or?
Well, unfortunately, because I've always, I don't know if you recall, but I've always suffered with lower back issues.
Okay.
So things started to develop in weird, it's just a lot of stress, it's a lot of, that's the very dark side of my running that, most people don't know about,
Sure.
the amount of agony of defeat
Yeah.
that I had to run through in so many occasions, and
Yeah.
they asked the question on one other forum, what would be the most disappointing or the negative part or the sad part of your career? It was the simple fact that I was never able to accomplish what I knew I could because of physiological, ailments and just impediments,
Yeah.
things that, you hear people say, oh, this, that, but man. So basically, it was just some bad developments that took place with my body, the lower back,
Right.
the hip,
So,
different things like that.
we haven't gotten up to May 24th quite yet, because I wanted the public to know about Kavin Smith in his youth, in his teenage days. And you certainly, have shared your Carifta highlights and setting on the 800-meter racket, in the process. So now, you've obviously, you heard about May 24th, and it's a 13-mile race.
Everyone's got to win it.
What was the first, now your first victory was 1993, but did you run May 24th before that?
Yeah.
And how often? How many times before?
I recall coming back from the States, and it was like, okay.
So hold on. You was in the States, so
yeah.
you went away to school for a while?
I was in school for sure. I was in a different school in the States for a short period of time, and
this was what, on an athletic scholarship or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
The early days, the part of my career I leave alone.
Right. No, understood.
But the idea was, came home, because you got to be May 24th.
Right.
Came home, I was about 19 at the time.
Right. Okay. So hold it just before we go to 24th of May. So you had actually, with all your athletic accolades and your Carifta talents and your Carifta results, you then offered a scholarship to
I went over a scholarship to University of Georgia.
Okay.
But the whole thing at that particular time, I was really, nursing and just, having too much treatment, I believe. I don't know. It's a lot of different things that took place, but.
Right. Sure.
A lot of issues, my hip, I was diagnosed, my hip was, actually it showed it quite clear,
Yeah.
The hip wasn't circular, it was egg-shaped, which was causing a lot of, discomfort. Really couldn't even run properly. A lot of treatment, If people knew some of the pains I've been through when I was winning, you wouldn't even believe it. Even that was a discipline to learn to do things, and miraculously, after a year, went back. And it had kind of sorted itself out. So, I started running lightly, got back into things a bit. Wasn't able to participate in track because I just couldn't run anymore at the time, So it was really a day place in my running career.
And this was in your late teens, early 20s now we're talking.
No, early teens, like 18.
Wow.
Around 18.
So you were shut down. So
I wasn't running at all.
You were shot. You had now, after setting the 800-meter record at Carifta, you was now shot.
Competed a few Cariftas. I competed a few Cariftas under 20, but wasn't able to run nowhere near my potential because I just couldn't run.
Because of the impediment, physical impediment.
The doctors pretty much told me, you're not going to run anymore, forget it.
Right.
But there was also some divine intervention that, I just couldn't believe that was it. I was too young. I could do other things. So I just kind of beat the odds.
So you was getting diagnosis that, hey, your running career could come to an abrupt halt.
No, I was told not to run anymore. That's it.
Okay, interesting. Well,
I was told
certainly you didn't take
to prove it.
From what the public saw, you certainly didn't heed that advice. That's for sure.
Believe me, it's.
But before we go to break, we are going to go to break in another minute. We definitely want to talk about your May 24th. Obviously, 9-time victor. Just want to talk about, like, how many years did you compete May 24th before you won it?
I recall running once. And that day I came home. Tony Ryan was the guy at the time. You all remember Tony Ryan?
Him and Mike Watson used to have those battles.
And, I said, well, Tony, I've got a plan for you. When we hit Waterlight Hill, I'm going. To my surprise, when we hit Waterlight Hill, he was going.
And that was your first year.
I'm like, oh man, he had the same plan as me.
Interesting,
I
interesting.
actually got
What did you
second that
place?
year.
What did? Oh, you got second
I managed to go second.
behind Tony Ryan. Yeah, and we
Yeah.
talked. We actually had an interview with him many years back.
Yeah.
But so we're gonna pick up from there, Kevin, when we come back from this commercial break.
Sure.
We'll be back in a moment.
Healthy people in healthy communities.
Let's get a drink before class. I'm gonna get some water. I don't want any sugar sitting in my mouth. Yeah, sugar is a bacteria-causing acid that eats your teeth. True that. I don't want an acid attack in my mouth. I look good, girl, and I want to stay that way. This is a message from the Department of Health.
And welcome back. We are here and delighted to talk with Kavin Smith, the Kavin Smith, 9-time victor in the May 24th Marathon Derby. Welcome back, Kavin.
Welcome.
So you were talking about you entering your first race. I'd asked, and you said you had a duel with Tony Ryan. That was I think that was 1992.
A planned duel.
A planned duel. Okay, apologies. A planned duel. So that experience coming second, I mean, that's extremely ambitious, and for your first outing. So you was roughly what, your early 20s now?
I think it was 9. I remember being 19.
19. Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, that said a lot, because so the word out on the street at that time, you were now, because you had a reputation of setting this Bermuda 800-meter record in Carifta prior years. So people knew.
Yeah, many 10Ks, getting in.
Because you've been on the scene now. You'd been exposed, so you were no longer a secret, so to speak. So that coming second that year, what went through your mind from that moment to the next year, which of course was your first of many victories?
Well, the idea was that it was fine. I'm a mature runner now. It was always just a joke for me, because as competitive as I am, I'm pretty lighthearted about the whole deal, Right. A lot of people got surprised about it because people read into things that just don't exist,
Right.
But the idea was that Tony Ryan had set the record at 122. And my training wasn't 122. So I wasn't worried, It was a bad tactic, got caught up in the hype. And that's one thing about May 24, as we witnessed of many runners, the hype could get you, man.
Sure. Well, you contenders, let's put it that way, us back of the pack, that's a whole different story. But back those days, you still personal duels anyway, with friends in the neighborhood, etc. So the experience of your first year running, a plan, as you say, run against Tony Ryan, you came second. So then you obviously you trained for the whole year.
Back to the drawing board. Just back to the drawing board.
Okay.
But the drawing board now dictated. I don't think, for some reason, Tony wasn't there. I don't know why, but he wasn't there, whether he left the island at the time. But he wasn't there, and actually he hadn't been competing locally. But I then set my sights on establishing the record, which was set by Tony Ryan. Okay. So I trained accordingly, and according to my outcome in my training for the previous year. How did you
train? Because obviously, at that time you're not going to reveal your secrets, but hopefully you can share.
Never had secrets. Never had secrets.
Okay.
That's one of those things that people read into. No secrets. No secret training.
Did you train twice a day?
Probably not very little. I'm not. Not all runners are twice a day runners.
Okay.
And with my vulnerabilities, most of my running was one run.
Okay. And what did you do? Road, beach, golf course? What
terrain? Road to the tracks, Horseshoe Bay. Just running Bermuda, enjoying it, finding new roads, just running anywhere pretty much, just getting in some time,
What about calisthenics and other forms of fitness?
If I knew what I knew now, I would have done a lot of it. But back then, it was other things to do, man. It was just more time, and I wasn't a junkie runner, I didn't live to run, I did what I had to do, my boys be good. Hey, we're going out or we're going fishing. I'll go running real quick. Wait for me, You remember that thing, right, Larry? I wasn't the type of guy that, just, you're not going to come to my house and see pictures of trophies all over the wall and pictures of all kind of runners, I did the sport and I learned it because it was an ability I had. And that was one of the promises that I made to myself, was based on the fact that, I never got to finish college, but I said I'll never waste the talent that I've been given. So I really maximized my running to the most of my ability,
Well, let's say this. Let me say this. I'm not going to question you. Anyone that wins May 24th once gets my props. If you win it twice, that's even more props. But if you win it 3, 4, and then for you 9 times, you have my ultimate respect.
So remember, the win is one thing. That wasn't my outcome. The idea for me was that I must set the record.
Okay.
Because in my book was about, and the next year, when it boils down to, I trained to break the record, which meant that, and I meant it was public. The archives you reviewed in the Royal Gazette, that I made a public statement that the record's going to fall.
Yes.
I told them I don't know who's going to win, but I will run faster than the record. And that's how I laid it down. And I did win that year. The next year I did win, and I did break the record. I ran a little bit under 122. And the other part, the memory to that was that once I won the race, Mike Sharp hit me with the mic, and he says, "Kev, you're not excited?" I says, "I broke the record, but that weren't it."
Interesting.
I said, just check me next year.
Right. So 1993, your first victory. How did you feel? You
won. I just tell you, that was it. I was disappointed.
You weren't overjoyed?
I was disappointed.
Disappointed. Interesting. So
I did. Mike Sharp asked, "Why are you not excited?" It's like, so I broke the record, but that's not it. See, I tell people I break the record, but the time I wanted to run didn't come forth,
Sure. That's 1993. 1994, you were absent, and Brett Ferguson.
That was another disappointing year.
Right. He won it with a head-to-head duel with Kevin Tucker. So the fans loved that duel because
they like a duel.
If I remember correctly, when you won it, you just ran away from the start and never looked back.
Oh, I won it different ways.
Right. Okay.
From the back, from the start.
So 1993, your first victory. 1994, your absence due to, I guess, injury. Now you're back 1995. You win 1995, 1996, and 1997. 3 years in a row. Do you remember that span of 3 victories before you were I think you were absent the next year, but that during that 3 year, tell us about your feelings and how you felt about that. Now you're a 4-time winner in 1997. You now won it 4 times.
So the third one was the race that I was excited about because I dropped it down. That's when I dropped it down to 111.
Okay.
And then we came back that year. Mike said, "You're excited this year, Kevin?" I said, "No, that's what I was talking about." Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That was the time there.
And that year, I remember Mark Perry was your challenger.
And Mark was your tough boy.
He was your closest challenger.
He is tough cookie. Mark had some toffee on his toffee, man.
Yeah, interesting. So now you're racking up these victories, right? And let's just share. I'm not sure if you know it enough, but let's just share some of the other persons, because when you achieve your 4th title, you're now going into because people are saying who's got 4 titles. Now it's in the company of these other.
Yes, that was a big deal too.
So at that time, when you won your 4th title in 1997, you were along with Calvin Borley-Hensey, who was a 4-time winner, and also the great Mike Watson. So you're now in company with these gentlemen. Obviously Hensey going way back in the late 60s and mid 70s, and Mike Watson won it between his 4 victories came between 1984 and 1991. Okay, so you're now got this name, Kavin Smith, Calvin Borley-Hensey, Mike Watson. You now return to the line 1999, attempting your 5th
Sherlock was in there too, eh?
title. Now, we're coming to that.
I got you.
A bit more. More. We're coming to that.
I got you.
So you're back to the line 1999. Do you remember that year specifically going for your 5th title, or?
Well, I can't say I remember the particular title or the victory at all. Because January, I mean, after that, it was either, you know, I had to run so strategically smart because of how things were playing in my body. And,
Okay.
you know, so that's just when you see a lot of the races being won from different areas, from the back, just different ways, run with them and then get away.
Right.
So, you know, it was just good
1990.
for the
Let me
victors, you
just
know.
share this. 1998, the year that you missed because you won it for those 3 consecutive years. You was injured 1998. Tracy Wright won that year, but that was his second victory after like an 8-year hiatus because I think he went and started to run on the bike, started to ride on the bike.
Yeah,
so
he
that was
good
his
too.
second victory when you were absent. That he was able to take advantage of your absence. And so 1999, you win. That's your 5th title in 19. So you don't quite remember much about that particular victory.
I don't know. Was that the one I can't remember the particular years, but I remember one particular year. I don't know, but the year I was out for a week before that with a hospital stay with meningitis.
Oh, wow.
And that was the year that Michael Watson and Jay Donovan were way out front.
Okay.
I remember that year specifically.
Yes.
You know, because I remember the question was, how you going to do, Kevin? I said, well, if they're not going by Burnt Out's heel, it's going to be iffy for them.
Okay.
And so said, I caught him at Burnt Out's heel.
And from there,
and then
he was able to go on to
victory. It was
victory.
iffy for him after that.
So after your 5th victory, you're now in the company of Max Smith Sr. And Cal Bean, the great Cal Bean. Because they were like what? They were 5-time victors at May 24th. So now you're in really good company. I mean, to win it 4 times is magnificent. To win it 5 times is even more admirable. But you didn't leave it there. So you won again. Your 6th title came the next year, 2000. Do you remember that? The year 2000, that victory.
Who was second? What happened in that year? I mean,
I don't have. I wish I could tell you, but you know what? No one remembers who came second in a race. Ain't that something?
Everybody remembers Jay Donovan coming second.
Right. Well, we know you was just in your form was just vintage form, and we know Jay came second many times. You know,
that's it. So most of those races Jay was behind. You know.
Yeah.
So that's that stands for a lot. So those are the years the races won. You know, one particular race. Then there was another race in there where remember Terrence Armstrong and Jay Donovan were way out there.
Yes.
And they caught them. They caught Terrence at the old Limboori.
Okay.
And then caught Jay down there at Shark Hill.
Yes.
And then went to win that one. So that particular, I know what particular year it was. So that was solid.
Yeah. I wish I could help there because normally, wasn't able to gather that information for this interview. But let me share the company you was now in after your 6th title. So these were the prior winners of May 24th that won 6 times. Arthur Googlip Lambert. Heard that name?
Googlip Lambert, my neighbor.
He won it between 1949 and 1957. Then Sir Stanley Burgess.
Big name.
He won it 6 times between 1930, long before I was thought of, and 1951, still long before I was thought of. And the great Ed Sherlock.
Yes.
Between 1956 and 1962. So he was dominant just like you. And on the female side, just for information, 6-time winners included Anna Atherley and also Ashley S. Wonick. They likewise on the female side won it 6 times. So wow, I mean, that's just so admirable. When you think about up to 6 times, I mean, did you feel invincible at any time? What was your mindset?
No, never ever feel invincible. It's funny. 2 days ago, I was talking to Sheldon Thompson, and he was saying how, yeah, Kevin, you would show up all late to the start, and massive people. I said, Sheldon, I never played games. I just wasn't comfortable being around all those people.
You consider yourself an introvert?
No, I'm not. By no means am I an introvert.
Yeah.
And it's it's a weird type of personality because I'm shy, but I'm totally confident, and I don't have the running the shyness and fear. These things I don't hold on me.
Yes.
But I'm So it's weird, but I don't like, I don't really like, a lot of people, I don't have a lot of, it's just not me.
Sure.
So, and there's type of things people took as being something else.
Yeah, arrogant.
Arrogant and playing tricks. I showed up late because there's just too many people.
For real. Awesome. So 2000, you rack up your sixth title. You're in good company. The great Ed Sherlock, Arthur Googlip Lambert, and Ed Sherlock, and the ladies Anna, Adderley, and Ashley S. won it. But you don't stop there. You continue on your pursuit of excellence, and you continue to rack up more victories. You win in 2001, 2002, and your last victory being 2003, even though you continue to participate in May 24th and still place high years after 2003. We're looking at nine titles, Kevin. Of those 9, which one or ones had the greatest value and why?
I believe the one with Mike, probably the one with, although it wasn't a racket run, was probably the year that when I caught Mike Watson and Jay Donovan on Burnt House Hill, because I had been in hospital with meningitis and thought, thank God it wasn't
before you
bacterial. It was about 2 weeks out, if I believe.
Okay.
Thank God it wasn't, bacterial, because, meningitis take you out, you have a lot of negative issues in your life. So, and so be able to come back out and put it together and be able to see the fact that I knew my body, where I could say, if I can start out slow enough for the first 6 miles,
yes,
then I said things will be all right in my favor. So I knew myself so well that I knew that once I heard the crowd making off, there at Heron Bay, Southampton, I was like, oh, that's Josh right there.
So that's your territory.
I knew they were close because you couldn't see other than that. So I made a point to make sure made sure that I caught them at Burnt House Hill. At the bottom of the hill, I rode up on
bottom of the hill.
and I made a point of it, and I did something that I apologized. When I took a bottle of water from a friend at the time, I offered some to Jay. I offered some to Mike Watson. I looked at him in the face and just dropped the hammer.
Yeah, they probably look. I mean, looking back now, they could laugh and it's just
for sure.
But at that time, it could have been perceived as a show of arrogance.
Well, in the name of the game, I had to capitalize on things that's going to allow you to be able to win the race. And there's small little things.
You were letting them know you still had a lot left.
Oh yeah, I mean, if a guy drops the hammer on you on the what people consider one of the toughest hill in the race, it's kind of hard to gather yourself. And I had to make some odds.
Yeah,
out of things that that didn't exist for me because I had been out of training. So
yeah,
that one was exciting. You say, "Wow, I pulled it off."
Yeah.
And I was alive and healthy.
and that's a good thing. Like you said, you were certainly being challenged with certain ailments.
I mean, you think I was in the hospital in a dark room because meningitis, you light and everything. So, and then you look at the danger behind it, and to come back out and still put it off, man. That was, that's definitely a thankful race.
Yeah,
I'll call it
just something I wanted. Just something I wanted as we're talking and sharing your 9 victories. When you got to your 7th title, and I just want to share to the public who may or may not know that there's only 2 other people that have won the race 7 times to date. Mm-hmm. One of them is Chris S. Wanick, and we know he's still out there running. And the other person is Sandra Mute, and Debbie Butterfield. They've also won it 7 times. Of course, right. Chris is still running, but Sandra, she's retired. I think she's back in New Zealand. And Debbie Butterfield has retired. So, I mean, that's just rare. That's just companies. You're in a rare space of legends. Definitely a legend. If it was if I could open a Hall of Fame for May 24th,
yes,
you'd be the first inductee. Because 9 titles says it all. So. And obviously on the sidelines reporting and interviewing you many years back when you was with BSB and like what what was it? What do you think that, what was the key to your success? I mean, because yeah, you can be out there training and running every day, but what are some keys? Give us a couple of keys to your success, Kevin.
It's a book I came about when I became, when I gave my heart to the Lord, and it's to the Lord. And it's called Mental Toughness for Success. And I also penned it, Mental Toughness to Success.
Yes.
So mental toughness, it involves such a broad scope of everything involved, not just with the sport itself, but your character. And as I came to know the Lord at later days and started reading scriptures like, through tribulations, you develop patience and perseverance.
Yes.
And these are the traits that allow you to address life. And I believe life is just, life is work, family, your sport, your talents. So be able to identify that there's traits through running. I realized, and when you look across the scope now of all successful athletes, those are the key traits that is who it is. Because you not only got to deal with the public, the biggest person you got to deal with is yourself, the man in the mirror. And people don't understand, when you look at that's why I was I was so offended of how people treated Jay so much, not understanding, but it's people paint the picture who they want you to be.
Yeah.
I tell God, I met one person one day on my job who spoke to me with total understanding. He said, these people don't understand. And he told me the deal, man. It was so pleasing to hear this from somebody, because I've always said, if you never won races as many times as anybody in the sport, you don't have a clue what they're going through. So it takes total mental toughness. You got to know who you are. You got to have a confidence in who you are. You got to know who you are as a person.
Yes.
Because all the pressure, I came to a point when I understood pressure, you understand pressure, then you turn around and use pressure as a benefit.
Yes.
Negativity.
Sounds like you trained to learn. Did you train to learn?
Oh, same reasoning, what I needed to train. And I had one trip I was over in New Mexico in the late years and training with Kenyans for 2 months, And so I go train with these gentlemen. There ain't no talking. If they're doing 9-minute pace jogging, Kevin, they'll drop you. You think about what's happening. This training time. After training, everybody's having a good time. And that's something I was able to accommodate because that's who I was anyway. Plus, I did a lot of crazy training. He kept learning. That boy's crazy.
Tell us about that when you crazy training. Share. Give me some insight. Crazy training.
I used to cause a white heel,
give us a snippet of what you mean.
I do spring bandy. I leave spring bandy, run all the way down Francis Patton and run back home.
For spring bandy to Francis Patton School in Hamilton Parish?
Sure, go back home.
And back.
I'll be traveling. If I was picked up on the airport, I'll just say, no, take my stuff. I'm going home. I'll run some of it. It was that commitment. From the airport. It's opportunity,
Yes.
I've been doing heel repeats, I just went to another level, which developed. The experience from it now, man, that's a conversation.
So that was some of your, I don't want to call it secret weapons, but that was your in your background training helped to what brought you success.
It's just doing basically, just do research. Everyone does. It's not a secret. You're out there doing your long, steady distance, LSD. I'll go up national stadiums, I'll knock out my 400s, maybe 16-400s and not miss a beat. And the key thing I can tell people today, my training session only started at number 10. Before then, you're still fresh. So you learn to run through or run against what the feelings of your body's dictating, which is the key to success in running in particular. Because you don't feel like running hard when you're tight. Yeah. You understand how it works. So there's things you develop.
For real. So listen, as we get ready to wind down, we only got I think 2 minutes left. Mm-hmm. What would you like to be remembered as or for in all your 9-time victors? Of course, you've been running. You even run for charity as well. I've seen that in your resume. Yes. Are you doing any coaching?
Well, I've only come to reality that I don't want to offend, but the lack of aggression and commitment in the younger people today, and what I accept now, and my lack of patience for it,
At least you're
based
honest.
on
I
what I
love that you're
developed.
honest.
I'm honest now, because someone said to me the other day, and when I thought about it, I was like, hey, that's right, I don't do it because I don't have any patience for it, which is something that's wrong, something I had to develop. So based on that, up to now, I've never really coached, and it's not I tell everybody, not everybody's a coach.
No
some
doubt.
of the best people in the world, they don't turn to be coaches.
In 30 seconds, sum up how you would like to be remembered.
Well, I always made the commitment one day. I never forget down Bailey's Bay. I said, there's not much gain in Bermuda as far as financial gain or anything like that, But I said, they're going to remember me. When they talk about May 24th, I want my name to be a name that pops up.
Well, I tell you what, in my psychic and many other psychics, 9 times winning the title, your name pops up 9 times and continuing. Kevin, we are delighted to have you at this for this interview, and may God continue to bless you in all your endeavors.
Yes,
Until next time, have a good evening.
Thank you very much.